essentially convicted in the media. You don't have to read but a few articles to see how negative they are about him. He has a right to have this information withheld, brought out in public, so that people can see it's not this neat little package. So people can start to wonder if Brian's innocent. Your Honor, Brian is innocent.
Feel the heat, truth ignites us from inside. Hear the roar, we'll never run, we'll never hide. See it drop, fireballs of truth, flames that scorch the darkest roof. Watch deception burn away, feel the dawn of honest day. Rise again with wings of flame, we will never be the same. These fireballs of truth, we rise, we rise.
Well, hello. So, as you well know, I'm writing a book because we've got a drop of 556 pages in our laps, and I couldn't just put out a book and then come back digitally and redo it and digitally drop it. And I was coming to this portion of the book, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to share this right now because people will be talking about this. If you haven't got the documents, you know where to find them by now if you've been following page 474. Remember, all this is up at Justice for All. Write down, let me show you in case you don't know. You need to know. You need to know this. This document 168 in this website. You need to know, guys. I'm here to bringing you the need to know. You scroll down, there's the Moscow police report. Scroll down a little bit more. There's some sus pictures. And then the police reports, you can download them right here. Right here. Okay, so what do I have to bring you right now? Well, on episode 168, I'm just kidding. On page 474, like I just told you, page 474, and you know what I'm going to do for you guys? I'm going to edit this, and I'm going to put ISP page 474, number 168. How does that sound? Because then that'll be easier for you to find this document. So up at the top, I have labeled this JD ISP page 474 168, possible gun residue and blood found in his home. Okay? I don't know if anybody's got there yet, but this is what we got. And let me share that page with you so you can see what I'm reading from. And when I got to this page, I wanted to be very clear. I wanted to be very just transparent. Here's a legal disclaimer. The content presented on this channel is for informational commentary and educational purposes only. All opinions expressed are solely those of the creator and do not reflect the views of any institutions, participants, organizations, or individuals mentioned in unless explicitly stated. Theories and discussions, we are open-minded here. They are shared here and based on publicly available information. Hence, Idaho State Police Department reports, personal interpretation and speculation only. They are not intended to accuse, defame, slander, or harm or harass the reputation of any person or entity. All individuals are presumed innocent until proven guilty in the court of law. Now, with that being said, let me pull up page 474, document 168, and let's read this bad boy together. I'm going to see if I could possibly enlarge this for you. I think I should. I think I can. Yes, I can. Yes. Okay. Hopefully this is big enough for you to see and me to navigate. So let's get into it. This police report was written It was report date 11/15/2022. And by the way, I see you guys. Hello. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for tagging. Thank you for sharing the website that we all are a part of. And also, thank you for viewing each other. I really appreciate it. So, now, I'll get into it because you know that I got the documents last week. I read them. I started editing my book very quickly. I've been bringing you information little at a time. I've spent a lot of time in other topics, but this is a topic that, you know, I'm sure people are going to be talking about. And I think it's important as I go to sneeze. Hold on a minute. Phew. Remember I told you, if Brian is factually innocent, we are looking for an 18 to 28-year-old. We are looking for somebody who is seeking revenge, and also somebody inside or possibly third party outside of the circle. If you've missed that video, you definitely want to go and look at that, because that is really important, because factually innocent definition is no facts to say an individual is guilty. No witnesses, no evidence, no video, no nothing. No nothing. And when you look at that, you have to obviously look at some other theories that we talked about. Old theories, old stories versus new theories. And if indeed, in fact, that if Dylan had a person she confided in, someone could have done this from a revenge motive, right? So if you haven't seen that, go back. Male 18 to 28 connected to Dylan. I pulled out of these reports emotionally reactive, protective, or obsessive, socially on the margin, someone who changed, their behavior patterns changed, or they had some crisis, possible a fixation of watching or protecting Dylan even. So anger and loyalty is part of that presumed speculative motive. Okay? So with that being said, we are looking at document 168, ISP report taken on the 15th. But this Sergeant Van Leuven, he began the supplement. He says this supplement adds the audio from those interviews into evidence. Now, every interview, this is saying, he's interviewed other people. He's interviewed other people. We know the suspect, we know the victims, but here's witnesses. The male that's 22, height, weight, and color, he's white, okay? Now, he goes to say that there were other witnesses that he interviewed here. This is like 9, 10, 11, 12 other witnesses that he has interviewed. Then he writes this supplement on the 15th and adds the audio from all the other witnesses' interviews. What does that mean? That means he's interviewed a lot of people and have come to the conclusion he needs to go and interview this individual on page 474, 168. The interview actually was in process. So he's interviewed all these witnesses. Then he gets together and says, okay, I need to go and talk to the ex-boyfriend of victim Kaylee Goncalves. He had been dating Kaylee since they were in high school. Yes, we are talking about JD. Okay? This is nothing new. This speculation. I made it a little bit bigger for you to see. Now, it goes on to say that, yes, they were dating since they were high school. They dated on and off approximately for 5 years. Now, the last time I checked, high school was 4 years, okay? So they've been dating off and on for 5 years, and obviously now in college. They had broken up approximately 3 months earlier due to her taking a job in Austin, and it had been a mutual decision with no drama. This is what he's told the officer. told the investigator. Blank advised he was driving a blank blank and blank. He said that his vehicle was owned by Kaylee's parents. His vehicle was owned by Kaylee's parents. And they were allowing him to drive the vehicle. Speaking of vehicles, Steve Jr., I hear, has a brand new nice vehicle. Like a luxury vehicle, by the way. Just to throw that in there. I wonder. So then in the interview, he says blank advised he lived at blank in Moscow with a number of roommates. So was that factual? Yeah, absolutely. He's got a ton of roommates. Blank, 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 and blank redacted. I noted the location of the apartment and the crime scene were near each other. I noted that blank and his roommates were all members of the blank fraternity. Okay. And I asked to describe his whereabouts and the events leading up to the homicide occurred. On Saturday, November 12th, he advised me he was at work at the redacted between 2:30 and 10:30, working mostly in the kitchen. Okay, he works. Blank drove home in to the duplex and went upstairs where he found roommates, redacted, 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 and redacted. Also present was a friend who was not a roommate named redacted, went downstairs to change into a sweatshirt, got a beer, and waited for a sober driver who was a blank freshman to come and pick them up. So he's senior, and the freshman came and picked him up. Then he said the sober driver arrived in what he thought was to be a black Nissan Xterra and took him, redacted and redacted, to the corner club. Okay, so we know that right now he's going to go out to have a drink. We know where he ends up. But then he says later he arrived at 11. He said the club was packed and they were admitted in because his roommate was working at the club and let him in. We know that was Adam Lauda. We know that. Because remember, Kaylee told Adam everything. Blank, redacted, said he got into a confrontation with a blank member named Blank because he had been messing with one of his friends' blank friend. Redacted, who was there, told redacted to lay off, and blank bought each other a shot. I don't know about that one. Then he goes on to say that he saw Kaylee at the club that night. It was not uncommon for Kaylee to be at the club. Blank said he thought Kaylee was accompanied by heavily redacted, who was the blank girlfriend. Maybe that is the girl who he went to the club with, because I don't think that, in my humble opinion, I don't think it was Maddie's girlfriend, because if it was Maddie or Blank's girlfriend, if it was, they would put her name as not girlfriend. Do you understand what I'm saying? They would put her name because she was a victim. They would name her. So then he says that he left approximately at 1 a.m. He said redacted were picked up from the club by redacted, who was the president of the fraternity, and returned to their apartment. Blank had consumed 2 beers, 2 shots of tequila, 1 shot of Rumple Mints, which I don't even know what that is. What is that? What is Rumple Mints? Does anybody know? Rumple Mints. I'm just going to check it out because I want to know. It is a German-style liquor brand best known for peppermint schnapps. It's owned by Denigo, a high alcohol content of 100 proof. Woo! That's wild. You can make a hot chocolate drink with this stuff. Okay, on the side note, don't let me get distracted, guys. A 32-ounce tub of beer. That's a lot of beer. That's a lot of drinks, no? Is it strong? Has anybody had that before? 100 proof toothpaste vodka. I love it. Trade. I love it. I love it. I love it. Oh, licorice liquor. It's strong. I've had it. I've never had it. It's minty. Okay, so like a minty alcohol. Okay. All right, so let's read on. So a 32-ounce tub of beer, and after returning to the apartment, he hung out with his roommates for a period of time, tried to throw up but couldn't, and went to bed. He said he woke up at 11:30 the next day. He said that blank came to the apartment and talked about cops being down the street near the house. He tried to call Kaylee on the phone, but there was no answer. He walked down the street where Kaylee's apartment was and saw Blank, who was Ethan Chapin's. It's got to be Hunter Chapin, who was Ethan Chapin's brother. Blank said he had one of the officers at the scene tell him what was going on. The officer said his ex-girlfriend lived at the house. Blank said the police put him back of the patrol car for 45 minutes. What in the world? They put him in the back of the car for 45 minutes. Did you guys know this? Also present sitting with Blank was another heavily redacted name, and Blank was good friends with Kaylee. At some point, the University of Idaho put out a text university-wide announcing the homicide had occurred. Now, this is interesting. When I had read this, I had to read it like 3 or 4 times, and then I figured out why they had him do this. Okay, listen to this, guys. At my request, at the investigator's request, that means he's asked JD to do this for him, drew a sketch of Kaylee's apartment and labeled the rooms by names of the persons he knew to be living in each room. Why do you think the police had him do this? I'm sure he's been in and out of the house. Kaylee moved there in August. This happens in November. But if he belongs to another frat, the frat and the sorority can't get in this house because another sorority and frat govern this house and they know who can get in and out, because that's kind of like their secret passcode, right? So they have him draw this out. Now, the officer, the investigator says, I've attached these drawings to the supplement and will transfer them to the Moscow Police Department. I will also scan these sketches and place the scans on a disc to include the audio recordings of Blank's interviews as well as other documents. Yes, Dustin. Yes, you just got it. They want to compare it to the drawing they found on the inside of the house, guys. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. But not only on top of that, if he has been in this house because he was dating Kaylee, and Kaylee has taken a job in Austin and said 3 months before this, hey guys, I can't date you anymore. I'm moving to Austin. I'm taking a job. I'm graduating. I'm done with this. I'm moving on. And JD, I'm sorry. I'm breaking up. I know it's mutual. We've had a few rough years. You're integrated into my family like they're already probably married. But by the way, you can't come over to my house because now I'm with this sorority, and this frat is basically part of our house. And he can't come in anymore. So how would JD know to sketch out all the rooms and exactly where everyone was? Had he gone into the house before? That makes you question, is this possible that he's involved? Is that a stretch? Probably not. But if they had, this happened in November 13th. So you go back 3 months, August, September, October, November. Kaylee had moved in August. 3 months. Had he been in that house before? I don't know. There was a guy that lived in this house before at a frat that played music, a musician, was from another country. He played, I believe, soccer. No, what was his name? He's on TikTok. He lived in that house where Kaylee's room was the year before. So this was Kaylee's first year living in this place. So then it goes on to say, I asked if he had any idea who would be responsible for committing these homicides. Blank advised him that he'd seen a video grub truck on Main Street the night before showing a blank member named blank redacted, and seemed to follow Kaylee and Maddie Mogan from the area of the grub truck before they went home. So perhaps he's telling them, hey, I've seen Showalter on the grub truck trying to follow him home. He also advised that he heard from blank that a man named blank was acting predatory at the corner club that night before the corner club had kicked him out. Well, we know that that is perhaps Cole Beringberg. We already know those things. It's all been made public. I asked to describe what vehicles the 4 victims drove. He advised Maddie Mogan drove a white Chevy Cruze, Kaylee a silver Range Rover, Ethan drove a red Jeep Wrangler, and Xana drove a blue Honda Civic. We took a break and left the room to speak to his mother, who was concerned about JD. Upon return speaking with the mother, he did not want to continue the interview, and without a lawyer being present, we stopped the interview and left. 2 days later, blank returned on November 17th, accompanied by his attorney, Jed Nixon. After a brief recap of what we discussed on the 15th, we resumed talking with blank about his recollections of what happened the night of the homicides. He said he, blank, redacted, and redacted, got back to their apartment a little after 1, which he's already said that it lined up. He said his bedroom was on the main floor. He said he hung out with his friends for about 10 to 15 minutes, advised he was drunk, and I asked him to estimate on a scale of 1 to 10 how drunk he was. Now he's drunk. Now he put his level of intoxication at about an 8 out of 10. Now he's drunk. Before he was asleep, but now he's intoxicated. Blank advised that he never experienced memory lapses. Oh, but I think right now I'm having a memory lapse. I can't remember well. And now that I've lawyered up, I have to really think harder. Right? This is what I have a feeling. Okay? I have a feeling. I have a premonition coming on, guys. So, he's never experienced memory lapses and never walked in his sleep and never acted while asleep. Now, remember what he just said. I've never had experience in memory lapses. So I'm wondering what the officer, the investigator, asked him. Do you have any head injuries in the past? Do you maybe have nightmares? Do you sleepwalk? Do you no? And he says, no, I've never experienced memory lapses and I've never walked in his sleep and never acted while asleep. And the reason the officer, the investigator, asked him in this manner, because he's got the 1-2 punch coming. He's got the 1-2 punch coming. It's good cop, bad cop. Okay, he's already established that he doesn't have any memory lapses. He doesn't walk in his sleep and he's never acted while walking asleep. And then he asked, you advised that you went to bed about 1:20 and he woke up the next day. He noticed a number of missed calls from Kaylee and Maddie. There were approximately 7 from Kaylee and 3 from Maddie. And now I made a video a long time ago, an expert in crime investigations, an expert, guys. I asked him, what do you do if you cannot call anyone and you're being attacked, who do you call? And they said, leave a clue on your phone and call the person that if you know that is attacking you. I made a video on this a long time ago. You can go search through my TikTok streets. I don't think I brought everything over to YouTube, but I will eventually. He said, if you cannot get a hold or dial 911, call the last person that you know physically is attacking you. Now, I've never thought about that, but this makes sense. Yes, you can call 911, but if 911's not going through or you're having a problem with 911, they say the best way to leave evidence is to call the last person that, the last person that you've seen and possibly who's attacking you. Okay? So, there were approximately 7 missed calls from Kaylee and 3 from Maddie, which was weird. Blank said that he had no argument with Kaylee the night before, and there was no dispute, and no one was upset about anything. Then I noted in looking at phone records, and there had been several text messages the night before between Blank and Kaylee. The last text message was from Kaylee at 2:45 in the morning telling him that she had his vape and that he could come pick it up at her house at 2:15. I advised Blank that there appeared to be a telephone call at 2:26 a.m. between Blank and Kaylee that lasted approximately 17 minutes the night before at 2:26. Right before you hear at 2:42, help me on one of the audios. He said that he didn't recall the phone call and cannot explain it, but he just told the officer, I've never experienced any memory lapses, never walked in his sleep, and never acted while asleep. But he can't remember the 17-minute phone call. Wow. Bombshell. That is like crazy. And I gotta play it.
Feel the heat, truth ignites us from inside. Hear the roar, we'll never run, we'll never hide. Phoenix drops fireballs of truth, flames that scorch the darkest roof. Watch deception burn away, feel the dawn of honest day. Rise again with wings of flame, we will never be the same. Phoenix fireballs of truth, we rise, we rise.
Okay, guys. That was the fireball. He can't remember a 17-minute phone call the night before. Now, mind you, he said he did not recall the phone call and cannot explain it away. He said maybe in his sleep he thought it was an alarm and he pushed the side button of the phone to turn the ringer off. Now, if it was 2:15, add 17 minutes onto that, and what time do we get? 2:35. What happened around 2:35 a.m.? Let's see. Let me look at my master timeline. Let me make sure I got the right time. Plus 17 is 2:32. Sorry, 2:32. 2:32. I don't have anything massively noted on 2:32. But if he was asleep, what in the world did they just have a conversation with him? Were they saying, help me, help us, come get us? What? I have learned that Blank had been referred to the, yes, we do know that by the Moscow Police Department. There is a report. Again, you can get those reports right off the website. There is a report that said that they were worried and concerned after the unalivings that somebody needed to go and have a mental health check. And it basically says that the website's mission is to provide care and concerns for the students, faculty, and staff who, heavily redacted, he'd been missing more classes than normal, and that the breakup with Kaylee had been bothering him. But right before the breakup, says there were no problems. It was mutual. It was all cool. So I'm confused. He talked about her going to Texas and the fact that she initiated the breakup. But right above in the statement below, he says there were no dispute, there was no upset about anything, and that everything was cool. I'm confused because right up here it says it was mutual. It was a mutual decision with no drama 3 months earlier, which is really strange to me, honestly. But anyways, it says, I asked directly if he committed these murders. I asked blank directly if he had committed these murders. He stated clearly he did not. So the investigator is thinking what I was thinking. Totally, 100%. And he says no, he did not. He eventually gave a DNA sample at my request. He also consensually gave his cell phone to be downloaded. I later took the DNA samples and transferred them to the custody of the Moscow Police Department. I took a thumb drive containing the download from the phone and transferred that into the custody of the Moscow Police Department. And we do know right there, they swabbed his phone and got his DNA. Signed the consent forms for his DNA and the download of his phone, and scan these forms and place them on a disk, which can be and which will be transmitted to the Moscow Police Department. I attached the original forms and this supplement. The remainder of my conversation with blank on the 17th involved victimology related questions, and they have the audio recording for these details. I had a number of follow-up questions and interactions over the course of the investigation, vital with cooperative and helpful throughout. Now, they come back a couple of days later. This is the I think the third day, so the 15th through the 18th. He consented to a search of his rooms, bathrooms, common areas, and downstairs laundry of his apartment in Moscow. The forensic scientist entered the apartment at 2117 on the 18th. That was at night, 9:17. After searching the areas he had consented to, we found a drop of possible blood on a wall of the entry. A sample of this was collected. We also noticed what could have been 5 to 6 small drops of runs of blood on the kitchen wall. Samples were also collected. This search and collection of possible bullet drop samples was documented through photographs by forensic scientist Hogan. We left the apartment approximately at 2020. Now, how could that be? They left the apartment at 8:20. But it says we entered at 9:17. That has to be a mistake. That has to be a mistake. Documents related to the consent, including the consent form, the maps, and the pictures prepared by blank are all on the disk. And eventually they had follow-up questions on the 18th, the 21st, the 22nd, and the conversations on the 22nd and the 21st were recorded on the disk. Blank advised me that he and Kaylee were co-owners of Murphy, the golden doodle, that was 11 months old, yada, yada, yada. And on January 4th, I contacted through his attorney, Jen Nixon, and asked him to bring Murphy to the ISP police office in Coeur d'Alene to take samples of Murphy's hair. Brought the dog in, clipped samples, placed it on the head, mid-back, from chest area. So they did take samples of Murphy's fur. They did take samples, which is kind of odd. So this report is a little odd, but very telling. And what do I mean by that? This report overall has got me thinking about some of the things that we've heard in this case that may be true or not. You know, and what do I want to say about this? There's no follow-up to know if indeed the drops of blood, the bullet residues, we do hear possibly that there could have been a gun involved in this, right? So it's weird that they would have bullet drop samples unless JD's a hunter unless JD goes shooting at the range or something of that nature, right? But this is all speculation in regards to what I'm about to say. If he took part in this, they definitely would save this for evidence and have. Does that mean that he did it? Well, obviously, they never followed up, and he wasn't charged. Because if you look at the dates, it was November 18th, 21, 22 that they followed up. And they even followed up on January 4th, 2023. They already had Koberger in custody on the 19th. They were given his name in December. So they had all this time to figure out if these people were involved. And honestly, there's no proof other than the samples they collected. We don't know what they came back as, but it looks like they were doing their job. Maybe made a mistake in the time, but it does not look like he was ever charged. Was he a suspect? Well, probably. I mean, there were plenty of other suspects, right? So my point to all this was there possible gun residue and blood found in his home? Possibly, but we never have the updated information. Was it blood? Was it something that was, who knows, ketchup, tomato sauce? What, they never come back and specify or state, yeah, this was just tomato sauce that was found in the kitchen. That wasn't, blood residue on the wall. It was whatever. Or there was no bullet samples. There was no possible bullet drop samples. It came back negative, and you don't see that. But you've got people running around saying, oh my God, they found blood, they found this. No, it was possible. Read what was read. It was possible blood on a wall entry, possible bullet drops, and possible they never come back and say, oh, by the way, it was factual, or else they would have charged him. They would have charged him if it was factual. That would be evidence. So I hope that when you guys are watching videos and people are saying things that don't make sense, or like, oh my God, I'm in total shock, they're giving it to you for the shock value. Again, everyone is presumed innocent until found guilty in the court of law. And here we go, people now sharing information. It's wild. I came across a video on my FYP on TikTok, and another video going in depth that, oh my gosh, JD did this. No, JD didn't do this, guys. I mean, the officer flat out asked him, did you do this? He said no. And then all this possible evidence, it doesn't say that it was actual evidence. We don't know that. And if it was, they would have been charged. He would have been charged. So that is the point to this video. Was there blood evidence, possible blood residue found? Yes, per the policeman, per the reports. But that doesn't mean that anyone is going to be charged unless they have a probable cause to go and arrest an individual they think did this. So I hope that this brings you a little bit more information, a little bit more light on the subject to say, could he have been? Yes, he could have been a suspect, a person of interest. But there are people that need to ask more questions. What was the result of this? We don't know because they don't tell us. They're not going to give us everything, guys. And even if there was, we would probably never know because everything has been redacted. Was he possibly one of the original 4 perpetrators? Very possible. Possible, yes, possible. So if you want to stick around, I'm going to go live and talk about these emails. Crazy. I don't know if you guys have seen these yet. But if you haven't seen them, Go download the zip file over at Justice for All. I'm going to go over these emails. If you stick around, I'll be right back. I'm going to close this live out, and I will be right back for more. So don't go anywhere. Stay tuned.
Listen up. The ashes stir, phoenix wings unfurl, seeking truth beneath the blur. Turnings for the lax, they meet the blur. Out the flames, I rise, wings scorched but unbroken. Truth the blaze, I wield, every rhyme's a token. In the nest we move, hearts stump in unison. Searching for the light where the system cuts our wisdom. Built on lies and steel, they boxed us in cages. Now we break the locks, rewrite history's pages. Innocent until proven guilty, that's the oath we recite. Under this constitution, we ignite the night. We rise like a phoenix and sink, we claim the street. Nest seekers united, our freedom can't be beat. Stand up when one falls, yeah we got your back. In a free land unbroken, we launch the righteous attack. Justice for the voiceless.